Yeah, you're in charge.
Okay. We will call this Carroll County Administrative and Technical Transportation Committee meeting to order. Why don't we start off with introductions? Let's start with
Tim Stroshon. I'm the Assistant Director for Transportation Planning of Tippecanoe County. I serve as the proxy for our Executive Director, Ryan, the secretary role for this committee.
Cameron Yates, City of Delphi Mayor.
Pam Beck, Clerk Treasurer, Town of Flora.
Yep, Arya Steiger, APC Transportation Planner.
Aaron Lyons, City of Delphi.
Erin Jubrow, City Council, District 3.
Anita Whirling, representing Carroll County Economic Development Corporation.
And Mike Fincher, Carroll County Emergency Management and 911 Director.
Okay. Has everybody had a chance to review the meeting minutes from previous meeting, or it's got E? We should only have one because we had a quorum last time, didn't we? Yeah, so has everybody had a chance to review the meeting minutes?
Yep.
Yes.
If so, entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, very good. I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the meeting minutes? Any corrections, additions, subtractions? All right. Hearing none, all in favor of approving the previous meeting minutes signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Very good. We will now turn it over to other business to Carroll for 2025 calendar year traffic counts.
All right, thank you.
Oh, can I stop you?
Oh,
Sorry.
please, go ahead.
Yeah, so one more member of our audience is our new City of Delphi Community Development Director. So previously JT Doan. So this is Julia Leahy. Just wanted to sit in and check out the, yeah, so just wanted to introduce her real quick before we got going. So,
Wonderful.
Sorry.
No worries. Okay. So I emailed the committee the traffic count proposed locations for calendar year 2025. Make it a little bit bigger here. So we have a draft version of those already, but I also sent something I don't think I've shared before, which is we do these on a 3-year cycle. As I always say, we do 65 every year. I don't think I've sent you all 3 years in one map before, so this is all 3 years of traffic count stations. So in the dark red, you can see what are called active stations. Those are the ones we take every 3 years. The inactive stations are stations that we've taken at least once before but aren't part of the standard yearly cycle. And then blue are all the INDOT stations where they take counts. In the past year, I've been working to reduce kind of overlap between our counts and INDOT's counts, as well as some areas where maybe we don't need to take counts quite so close together, so I've been finding some efficiencies. And you can see that there are currently 177 active counts. And for 3 years with 65 counts each year, that's I think 190, if my math is right. So we have some wiggle room in extra stations so that we can set up every year. So that's that information in case y'all wanted to see.
Are the INDOT stations every year?
Every 3 years as well.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
They have some permanent count stations on like the really big highways, but most of them are just every 3 years. So they do the whole state, you know, so.
Sure.
Yeah, what INDOT does is they contract it out to a firm, and then the firm comes every, that's what they're doing these days, yeah.
Okay.
And so it's every 3 years. So if you look on their database, you have to be a little careful because they do show a number for every year, but not all those numbers are actual counts. Some of them are just mathematical estimates where they will put in a number and say, well, you know, we think traffic grew at 2% from, you know, last year, so those be arbitrarily increased by that 2%, and then, you know, whenever they get the next data point, then they'll adjust.
Yeah.
And they indicate which are actual readings versus?
Yes.
Luckily, yes.
You do have to look for it, though. It's not immediately obvious.
Okay, thank you.
But it is in the database,
Yeah.
yeah.
So the second map is the ones for calendar year 2025. So I've already put in 65 locations, including a couple of counts that we had discussed at our last meeting, around the, development area. And I also included again, I think, yeah, you'd see by the schools, since we've been kind of tracking improvements to that area. I think the hawk signals are in, so we can see how those are making an impact to the traffic and speeds around the schools each year. But, you know, these are not final yet, so if y'all have any places you'd like more information about, places that are not as important, where we could remove stations, I'm happy to make adjustments. I think maybe by the end of the month to these stations. There's also a spreadsheet of all 65 here in your packet.
So we got room for several then, don't we? We have 60 active and we had 177. So we got plenty of room.
Yep.
Were you gonna suggest adding Washington?
Yes, I didn't know if you want, so to touch on the traffic counts, one thing that we discussed at the last week's Delphi Redevelopment Commission meeting was some ideas that we had our future projects for different areas of the city, and then one thing that was brought up was the amount of truck traffic that continues to come down Washington and cross over our historic bridge at the canal. I know it's been tossed around. Actually, last year I think I tried to get a committee together to look into that, but we never had enough present to actually get that kicked off. So speaking with several people, it's almost a weekly complaint, because if you get 2 or 3 semis at the stoplight, essentially sometimes it's backed up all the way past Mitchell's, almost to the church. So the goal now is what we need to do as a city is try to get some kind of ordinance in place that, you know, ordinance, signage, all that, that basically says no truck traffic. You know, they can go 9th Street. The problem with that is, I think, as we discussed, is the roads are really skinny. There's a really hard corner right there, which, you know, we got some different ideas for that. But moving forward, we need to figure out, now that we have State Road 25, it is under the control of the city, is how we can get an ordinance in place. And then I was told that there was actually one put in place by the county to protect the bridge in 2014 or something like that. So I haven't been able to get over to the courthouse yet to find that, because I didn't know of that.
Aaron's shaking his head.
I don't know.
That was probably removed in 2014
Yeah.
Because it keeps passing the inspections,
because.
Okay.
which is great. I mean, you don't want to.
Right.
Yeah, it was probably removed in 2014.
Okay.
There was a
Is that the frost law?
7 or a 10
Just
ton
on
weight
bridge,
limit on
on
it,
bridge.
and it was requested to be removed by that administration,
By the canal.
No.
Or
By the
by,
by the
County?
city's administration.
okay, okay,
Really?
That would be.
When was that, 2014?
Administration.
that's true, okay.
So it was removed, there's one on there and it was removed.
So I will look for the language under 2014's ordinances to see what that was, and then, you know,
And some of that was in for, I think there was some truck traffic coming out of the county prior to the current truck route. And I think at that time, the thought was just to remove that, so if they don't go up Washington Street, they would turn on Adams, and then they can go out around West Delphi. And so they removed the weight limit on that bridge.
So there's no weight limit on it right now?
There is no restriction.
and we, of course, we just had an inspection. Well, I don't know if that was a full inspection, was it, for the water leak that we repaired?
No, all they came to, they just looked at what we
They
did.
just looked it over to make sure that
Make sure everything
now
wasn't.
traffic going across it was safe to do that, so.
Yeah,
The
they didn't
last
do it
time there
full
was an inspection that passed.
Yeah. We had a small one done because we had a water leak, but that was, we
Right.
had them look at it just to make sure when we put traffic on it, that the water that did leak through didn't compromise the bridge. But, so moving forward with that, what's the consensus of this board, and I know you have some input as well, is I feel it should be something to put back in place, just for several reasons. One, for the Washington being so skinny in the downtown district. You know, there's another alternate route for them to go, and that's, I don't know if it's their GPS that's taking them this way, but when you leave the canal area, there's a sign that says no semis, no trucks right. So I'll let you guys put out your feedback to how we can get that back up. If you, I mean, Aaron, do you agree? I mean, it's getting worse by the month, in my opinion, that the trucks are lined up past Mitchell's.
Well, it has been for a long time.
Yeah.
It's a matter of passing an ordinance, and then you have to stand by it. So if you pass an ordinance, and you hand that ordinance to the trucking company on West Delphi and say, this is gonna be enforced,
Yeah.
they don't have a choice at that point. You know, you put the proper signage up, and you hand out notice, and from this, because from what I see, besides local delivery, the majority of the truck traffic is for the company down there.
Correct, yeah.
And
Companies, yeah.
Yeah, it's for them.
Like Walman's on, they get the little Cisco trucks and.
Right.
And what they're doing is they're following their GPS,
Sure.
period. They plug that in and they'll drag that thing right off a cliff until it tells them to.
Now, the weight limit, is that something that we cannot achieve now because it passed inspection, or is that something we can try again as well?
The last time, and I don't remember the year, but it was while I was mayor, and they did, the state, you know, did an inspection of the bridge and it passed.
And so they say you can't have a weight limit because of that?
There were no weight
I mean, we're trying to be
limitations.
preventative.
The weight limit isn't for us, that's gonna be the county's. That's,
Yeah, because
We
it's
don't handle
Well, the
technically.
bridges are
Yeah.
county, but
so that bridge is property of Carroll County, so they're gonna be responsible for inspection and deeming whether or not it needs to have a weight
Sure.
restriction on it.
But the last time, but that state inspection was done was, you know, during that time period, and it, yeah, it passed, and there were no weight restrictions placed on it.
Okay,
I mean, it's nice to know that, Stone Arch Bridge from that is very strong, and, however, you know, it makes it harder to put teeth into, or to, you know, find a way around, limiting the truck traffic in the downtown.
we requested an audit from the state for our East Main Street signage. We come to find that some case law has changed, that it's not up to date to where we had written a few tickets and basically they were dismissed because of the signage. So NDOT agreed, hey, we'll come look at it, and I know I spoke with Aaron about it, that ultimately I think it was our signage or however that went, but NDOT agreed to look at it, tell us the proper signage, and also help us with the signage. So that was, again, that was with an email last year. I haven't heard back from Matt since then, but that's something we'll work on as well. But, you know, going along with an ordinance is also enforcement. So that's, if we could get that in place and start showing that we're enforcing it, and maybe that'll cut down on the traffic. So that's, where do you guys think a couple, maybe one or two for traffic counts? You know, I don't, right now it's not gonna be a good time, I don't know when they get set, but with piles and all that, but,
We'll start in late April.
okay. Yeah, but what do you guys think would be a good way to capture cause it breaks it out between four-wheel vehicles, semis and all that, so.
Yeah.
Thoughts on the traffic count locations?
I think if you went, you know, from Washington Street, and I don't know where you'd start, you know, on the south end, but all the way to where, you know, it becomes 9th Street, and then do 9th Street.
To see how many coming in from both directions.
I mean, do you feel you need it for an argument?
What's that?
Do you feel that you need it for an argument?
No,
Do
but,
we- I mean,
I mean, we have 50-some extra spots to use,
Yeah.
so why not? I mean,
I mean, we
I'll-
have data from a few years
Yeah.
ago.
I'll
and
look
it was
into that
surprising.
ordinance and start diving into that immediately, but as far as the argument, I don't think that's, but it'd be just a,
Yeah, I was just questioning, you know, the motive is, for what, you know, if
Yeah.
you're needing that for justification, because maybe you don't, but.
yeah, I don't think we
Ultimately,
really
it's gonna
do,
come down
but
to the
if we got
cities.
extra, unless you got different spots that we could
No,
utilize
no,
those at.
no, I was just questioning, you know.
But if we were going to talk about widening 9th Street, you know,
Yeah.
then we're talking with the county, and so, you know, we would probably need
We
some,
can show them some data.
show the data.
When was the last time we did that?
In those locations, I would have to go back to my office and look.
Can you do that real quick?
I mean, it'll be an hour, okay, real quick.
I'm pretty sure we did it once or twice.
It'd give us
Yeah, we
a,
looked at
give
truck
us a
traffic.
good
and
starting
looked at
point
this.
of what for some possibilities that we've looked into for the Delphi Redevelopment Commission, so, and then we'll, of course, approach the county at some point after, when we get to a certain stage, if that does come through, but, yeah, so, trying to think of location-wise, I mean, it's, obviously we don't want it right downtown, but if they're turning off of East Main or 421, I guess anywhere, I would say past the tracks. going north somewhere, that's gonna capture them, right? But then
You want
you
it
might
right
also
in the
get some
downtown.
you might get some from the,
I think
that
you're,
actually do follow the truck route.
I think
It
you're gonna want
matters.
it up by, probably by Franklin Street, if you can find a
Okay,
place to put it in there.
okay.
So,
You'll grab them right when they're coming in, now you're gonna catch some local traffic, local trucks too.
but anecdotally, you know,
You're gonna want it closer to,
I'm working at the Crosby Building, which is right next to the Opera House, almost every day. And you would be shocked at the number of semis that are
Oh, no.
coming in.
I seen 3
You
this
would-
morning
yeah.
walking over to
It's-
the Opera House.
It is an incredible number.
and they're all going out to the,
They are,
Same spot?
yeah, cause it's
Yeah.
the same trucks and their
And-
dispatch has put notice out, but.
And what was really scary, and again, I hate to take time, but I was parked at stopped at the traffic light, getting ready to turn from South Washington onto West Main. A tanker truck turned onto, the block where I was, and I had to pull over onto the sidewalk. I mean, they were coming off of West Main Street, turning onto South Washington. It was a little frightening.
The tanker truck's interesting because that would be someone that probably going out to Adams,
just
because we've
forward,
seen,
yes.
we've seen spillage that
It was
goes.
scary.
Yeah, because there's nothing out, well, there might be, I guess they have that, the place that does the trailers, so it might have been an empty tanker. But, yeah, hopefully, right? But, okay, so I won't drag that out, but it's something on the radar, and I'll look into the ordinances for 2014 and start that process for the common council.
Is there anything that you would recommend or that you could help us with on that, or?
Sure. So just starting with the traffic counts point, one thing we could start to do is have some locations that we take every year. So, like Aria said, typically what we've done is it's been kind of 65 every year, so that'd be 195 through the 3 years. If you only do each one once every cycle. But if you had maybe a few specifically in Delphi, maybe 10 or so that we, I don't know, maybe a lot, 5, 6, 7, we would do every year, then you could kind of start to build up, okay, you know, here's what we had in 2025, okay, then we made a change, and then 2026,
Show the reduction.
what did that happen, or what did that, like, practically do numbers wise? And then 2027, did that keep up, or did people, you know, maybe you didn't have as much enforcement in 2026 because you thought, well, 2025 cleared it up, and then you see, well, okay, people didn't see it getting enforced, so then it went back up. So I would suggest taking some of our 195 possible locations and making some just kind of permanent, at least for a few years, so we can get some data over time. And then obviously, you know, if we just look at what we were on track for in terms of the cycle this year, you know, we could perhaps cut some of those that are farther out in the county that are likely to be maybe only 100, 150 vehicles that won't have changed too much. And then we can get those back in the program, you know, in future years. So we wouldn't necessarily even need to count those once per cycle. You could do them like every 6 years.
And of course, we have the bridge that's gonna be closed from early 2026. So I don't know if that would affect any of the counts or, but not looking forward to that as far as the trucks getting twisted around all throughout the city as we learned in the past, just from anything being closed, so. Okay,
All right, so probably at least 2 stations, I guess, on Washington Street then, around maybe Franklin and 9th or so. It sounds like are good station areas.
Aaron, you think that's good?
Yeah, I would grab Franklin and then, yeah, probably over there at 9th, probably.
Okay. So I'll add at least 2 and see where else I could add, maybe some more even,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
We can send around an updated proposal
Yeah.
sometime next week. It says, based on our conversation at this meeting, here's what we think, and we can kind of highlight the ones we added. And you know, if you guys think, well, maybe they missed one, or you know, you need to move this one 2 intersections down, or whatever, with your local experience, that we can do all that shuffling so we can get it set up before end of March.
Anything else on that? Okay, that's all I had for that part of it.
Okay.
2026, so you wanna cover the fiscal year 2026 planning work? Is that you, Tim? Okay.
Yes, so we do have this kind of one-page sheet in the packet that I'm already showing here. So this is taken directly from a grant that we submit to NDOT. So I know some of you have been around this committee longer than others, but I thought it might be helpful to really quickly explain kind of the process for this work that we're doing today, as well as the traffic count stations. So in Tippecanoe County, we are large enough that we are required to have our own transportation planning department called an MPO. Carroll County does not have enough population to meet that threshold. However, NDOT has kind of acknowledged that some of the smaller and more rural communities do still benefit from some of this type of work that we do. So there is a grant program in place to help you guys out financially to basically pay for us at Tippecanoe County to help you out with this kind of stuff. So the way that it works is that 80% of the cost for that is paid by NDOT. So if you look at my table there that says overall budget summary, these headings may be a little confusing, but SPR is the one that NDOT's gonna pay. That's their code for this specific type of work. And then LPA is the code for what you guys would pay. So I do wanna make a note about that, and that number you see at the bottom is really the most important number, because all of the sub-tasks are just kind of estimates. It really depends on how much staff time exactly we charge to each element as far as that. But the total number is important, so it's just under 40,000 total, of which the maximum you guys would pay would be the $7,867.87. Now, if we don't do, the $39,000 worth of work, if we do less work than that, then you guys would pay less, so let's do 20%. But that $7,867 is the cap. So that's the most you will pay for our services. We've kind of tried to keep it historically around 40,000 in terms of how much we would put in for it as, again, a maximum. If there is a desire to start doing more intense planning work, we might be able to help you out with that. We are looking on our end to add some staff as Tippecanoe County continues to grow, meaning we might have a little bit of extra staff time that we could dedicate to these types of projects if you want. But I didn't want to just go ahead and do that because the grant is it's already been submitted for this year. So that would be a discussion for next year if that is something that some of this truck route issue does ramp up and we get a committee and we need a little more dedicated time for that, and you think that would be appropriate to put in a little more, maybe we go 45, 50 for the total grant number next year.
So back to the traffic counts, we had 2 projects in Florida that was approved by Ready, that was another add-on subdivisions at Carriage Estates.
Mhm.
Do you think that any counts would be needed for that area to get some data, or is that area not something that's really gonna, it's not gonna, there hasn't been any issues or anything, but I'm just trying to think anything outside of the bigger projects we've had from Ready that are now almost ready to be full swing, so.
They will enter from State Road 18.
Okay, so they
There will
probably
not,
already
as far
have
as I know, there will not be an entrance from 3rd Street that the county highway is on. They'll just enter from State Road 18 and go back into there. And then the wastewater treatment plant, that is, there's not any extra traffic there. Right now, it's just because of construction.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Anything else on so the breakdown for that's paid through the Carroll County Auditor handles all that, correct? I know how the breakdown is, but they're the one that actually sends you guys the, okay.
And I need to discuss with you how to get in contact with whoever the current person is.
Okay.
So we can talk about that after the meeting, as to who I need to
Sure.
contact to make sure I'm following the proper procedures so that you guys have documentation you need.
Okay. All right. Anything else on the fiscal year 2026 planning work and the breakdown of what you've submitted?
Not from our end, so unless there are any questions?
Any questions from the board? All right, hearing none, we will move to the 18-month letting list. Is that you? All right,
That's me.
that's you? Okay.
Okay, so we can kind of start at the bottom with the bid letting results. So there was a December bid letting for this US 421 small structure maintenance and repair project that NDOT is doing. The low bid was a little bit over the engineer's estimate, but NDOT has a policy where if the low bid is over the engineer's estimate, but it is under $1 million, they will still consider awarding it, which, as you can see, they did award that one. So that one is estimated to be completed July 31st of this year. Other than that, we had 2 January lettings. Unfortunately, the last time we saw an NDOT update was on that same day, January 15th. So we don't have data for whether or not those lettings are going to happen on State Road 29. We are kind of pulling this data for this list from NDOT's database, so we're stuck with the information that they give us. We don't, have any control over that. So that's that. And then I guess kind of the last thing I want to point out, or well, 2 more things. One is that then there's kind of a time gap until, July, I guess, would be the next even possible listing, but that one has moved off the list. So it shows NL in that far left column, meaning that for some reason it's no longer going to be let then. My guess would be that what has happened is NDOT is feeling some of the same cost increases and inflationary challenges that all the rest of us are feeling in our lives and our work. So some projects are getting moved outside of this 18-month time window. This list is supposed to represent. NDOT generally is still going to try to do all the work that they would like to do, but some of it's going to have to, get deferred to future years. I know that there have been some lobbying efforts to get the state legislature to try to get some additional sources of tax revenue, specifically for transportation funding. And then, of course, as we all know, the state's still trying to decide on an overall budget with a new administration at that level. So there are a lot of questions about funding for projects. We just got an email today about a new review process that will affect some of our projects in Tippecanoe County. It shouldn't affect anything in Carroll County, I don't think. But we'll have to see, and that's at the federal level even. So there's a lot of moving parts
Really?
for all of us right now. So we'll kind of continue to monitor these sorts of things, and some of these lists may be changing, some of the rules and regs may be changing. We're not really sure, but we're going to keep an eye on it, and if there are opportunities to get additional funding through grants or anything, we'll certainly try to let everyone know, and we'll all see what we can do to get as much as we can into our communities. So yeah, not too much to say other than that. Fortunately, NDOT's not here, so I can't defer any questions to them about their projects. Any comments on this list?
Okay. We will move on to any citizen comments.
All right, so on the web, I see currently no comments on YouTube. Let me try Facebook up here as well.
So just for the committee's information, because we do stream these, typically the stream is a minute or 2 behind us. So we do often kind of give the public just a minute or 2 to catch up, just in case we were to get any comments. It is pretty rare, even for us in Tippecanoe County, to get much on there, but every now and again you get a surprise. So
Yeah.
we'll wait a minute or so. All right, we'll keep monitoring that, and she'll let us know.
I'd like to thank you all for showing up and having a quorum. That's great.
Apologize for being late.
No, you're here. That's the important thing. What's the date and time for our next meeting?
May 15th.
Okay.
Yep, so May 15th, and then August 21st, and November 20th, which I will continue working to get more participants for the board here. I did send Jennifer some information on some employees that are no longer part of the board for that, but we'll continue to try to get more members present. So it's nice to have coverage from everywhere. That way, if there was additional accounts that they needed or any concerns, but I know everybody's schedules are busy, so I get it.
All right, it has been a minute, and there's no public comment on Facebook or YouTube at this time.
Okay, so no citizen comments. Is there any further discussion or comments from the board before we adjourn? All right, hearing none, there's one last motion. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
Mike Venture and Anita. All right, I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is adjourned at 2:38. Thank you, guys.
Hey.
Thank you.
Do you have information